It was the day of Vishwakarma Jayanti. Prime Minister briefly alluded to how it's going to be helpful to artisans, craftsmen of India, perhaps in a move to make them self-reliant. What's this scheme all about?
So, Shweta, the Vishwakarma scheme, Vishwakarma is what? Vishwakarma is tools, right? Tools pertain to artisans. So, Vishwakarma scheme launched by Prime Minister Modi yesterday at Dwarka at the inauguration of the Yashobhumi, the largest sort of, exposition center in the convention center in the world. Not just in India.
Absolutely. But what a grand center. I hope we can pull up some visuals here. What a grand center like that.
And we also had Finance Minister Narendra Modi speaking at that very venue. Now, what is this Vishwakarma scheme all about? Primarily, this Vishwakarma scheme is about empowering artisans. And these artisans will be empowered using an outlay of 13,000 crore rupees. Now, what does this 13,000 crore rupee dole, if I can call it that, mean for the artisans? It means that they could avail a soft loan of up to 3 lakh rupees in 2 tranches. So, a 1 lakh rupee loan would be readily made available to artisans. And if they're able to repay that loan with a very, very small interest rate of 5%, and that is a discount, a subsidy of 8% offered by the government. So, at a 5% interest rate, if they're able to pay this 1 lakh rupees of loan or repay this 1 lakh rupees of loan to the government, they become eligible to avail another 2 lakh rupees of loan. So, this makes the total corpus available to artisans of about 3 lakh rupees, which they can then use to produce the goods that they specialize in. Now, linked to this are also certain other elements. For example, there is going to be skill development and training, which is going to be essential part of this, Vishwakarma scheme, which means there is going to be a 5-day skill enhancement, skill training session offered by the government or various state governments. The outlay is all by the center, but I think the involvement of state governments is going to be paramount here. So, a 5-day skilling program where these artisans also get paid about 500 rupees per day. So, that's an additional 2,500 rupees going to anyone who enrolls for this training session. And add to that another 15,000 rupees, which strangely the government is calling it a toolkit, but 15,000 rupees to allow these artisans to buy tools which are required for their art and craft, a one-time expense up to about 15,000 rupees. Now, as I read it, Shweta, this is again, just ahead of elections, targeting specifically the SC, ST, OBC
the
bucket,
marginalized
section of society. Finance Minister's address also mentioned that this is a tool towards women empowerment. We know for a fact that there are enough and more women, employed in, let's say, the sari business or in the printing business, right? Or even the Khurja pottery, which is very, very central to Uttar Pradesh, has a lot of women folk contributing to work. So I think SC, ST, OBC, women, other weaker sections of society, not saying women are, but other weaker section of society, all of them sort of, come into this ambit to get a 13,000 crore rupee outlay, which should make them more competitive and be able to not just produce, their art and craft, but also the scheme should expose them to certain digital marketing training, branding, help, etc., which can make these products even more market friendly than they are right now.
All right. And that, of course, those are the details of the scheme. On your screens are visuals of Yashobhumi, the convention center, where all those grand announcements were in fact made. We also had Finance Minister speaking on how Vishwakarma scheme is perhaps going to be extremely helpful for women. Let's quickly listen into what the Finance Minister said.
In our country, Vishwakarma is considered to be the person who created everything around us. He's the master craftsman. He's the one who gives skills of all kinds to our people. And that is why Vishwakarma Jayanti is a very important day which stands for those skills with which our economy in small groups at the panchayat level, at the town level, have all had self-sufficiency. We had our own blacksmiths who made things out of iron and metal. We had our own jewelers who made our jewels. We had our own potters who made our pots and household equipments. We had our own silver and other workers. And for those of us who live next to a river or to a seashore. Even fish nets were made by these able, nimble hands. So these crafted, well-skilled people lived around us, with us, along with us. And they actually made our economy very self-sufficient and very productive. That is why even 500 years ago, India could be.
All right. So, Finance Minister there, of course, talking about self-reliance when it comes to our craftsmen, people who actually make products with their hand. That is what Vishwakarma is about. But another interesting policy which is in line with Vishwakarma and perhaps hoping to promote craftsmanship is one district, one product, to support perhaps, people who are known to be traditional craftsmen or known to be traditionally good at doing something, and to keep supporting them to do that thing, to reach that end product
Very
and
true,
goal.
Shweta. So ODOP, I think, a very interesting concept. This was initiated by Yogi Adityanath government in Uttar Pradesh in his first term, and I was one of the early journalists who had covered this scheme back then. I think the idea is very simple, that every district in India, given its diversity and the sort of varied skills that Indians possess, every district is given one certain specialization, and then that district is empowered to focus and create more and more craftspeople around that particular scheme. I mean, to give you an example, let's say you go to UK and you studied there. The Scotch is readily available and made legally only in Scotland. So the term Scotch is pretty much, directly relatable with Scotland. Similarly, you go to France and you go to a district called Champagne. That is what makes champagne. But India being, sorry, I'm giving only alcohol examples. That's all that's coming into my mind right now. But the
I'll give you an example of Moradabad, known for its carpet.
Moradabad, Moradabad actually known for its brassware.
Brassware,
right.
And yes.
So the idea being that you actually empower every district and you brand every district to produce very, very authentic craftsmanship, craftware from that particular district, and then that becomes geo-tagged, that becomes authentic, and that then gets taken on to national as well as global levels. So ODOP as a concept is great. Now I think what the government wants to do with ODOP is that its own self-made Atmanirbhar competitor to Flipkart and Amazon, which is the government e-marketplace, GEM. GEM, which has buyers right now only from government departments and PSUs. I think through this ODOP scheme, linked perhaps to this Vishwakarma scheme, the government wants these specialized products, the woodware from Saharanpur or Khurja pottery or silkware, or the things which are very, very traditional, artisan, specific to certain regions, brand them, authenticate them, geotag them, promote them, get them on the GEM platform first for at least PSUs and government departments to buy, corporate gifting ahead of Diwali, etc., and get them to become brands unto themselves.
All right, and that is very interesting, and a very interesting way to promote self-reliance. Bhadohi is the carpet district and not Moradabad, but an example of where, as to what states, what cities, districts that you promote for what they're known for, their specialization. I think that is the end goal here, and Prime Minister launching that Vishwakarma scheme is perhaps going to help all those craftsmen in long run to come.